Hello guys, what is up? It is Maxwell. This is going to be my first and only YouTube video. I'm coming out of retirement because I'm absolutely in love with this company. It's one of my highest conviction plays, and I've been full-time trading over the past 2 years now, and I look at dozens of stocks every single day, and I just had to make a video on this company. Now, this video is probably going to have 15 to 30 views before the stock actually does something. It's definitely one that's under the radar. But if you're watching, I hope you stick around. I hope I'll offer you some value in this video. And if you guys have any info, on it that I don't have or that I, am not sharing in this video, please, drop in the comments below. I'd love to hear. Now, first of all, with Casi, and I'm going to pull up the chart in just a second, it's been beat down. It's been beat down heavy, over the past few months and really over the past 3 years. But we'll get into those in a bit. But what I really love about Casi, one is its pipeline, its business model, and its team, and its insider buying. But so first off, with the team itself, so Wei Wu He, the CEO, he joined I think in 2018. He's a extremely accomplished biotech founder, scientist, and he's successfully launched and managed and taken over companies and sold them. Several companies in the past. He's also been a great investor with his emerging tech partners fund that I'll get into in a little bit. That has some tie into some of Cassie's businesses or business aspects. So anyway, but no, you've got guys from Novartis, guys from Bayer, GlaxoSmithKline, Pfizer, Roche, Johnson and Johnson, Takeda, Merck. So in my opinion, we've got a great team. I've looked at most of these guys individually. You can go and read about them, on Cassie's website, their board of directors, their management team. Look at the background, of these people, what they've accomplished, and that's kind of what I'm looking at. Is I'm not making my judgments based on the stock's action or its technicals. I'm looking at the team, and that's what we kind of have to do with these early stage biotech companies. You need to look at the team. You need to look at who's behind them, what they have in the pipeline, what they're working on, the size of the market of those drugs that they're working on, and what gives them, an advantage over other companies. All right. So, first of all, I just wanted to pull up the insider ownership. This is off of Open Insider. You guys can go look at those anytime. Now, what we see is the CEO has been loading the boat with shares, since he joined. We've seen several, million plus share, acquisitions or purchases over the past year. Just in March, he added 3 million shares. July of last year, he added 4 million, all at prices above what the stock's currently trading for. And we've seen some dilution and all these things. But what I like is he's actually putting his own cash on the line, to kind of load the boat. And he's the majority shareholder right now. He owns almost 15.5% of the company. But he's also taken pay cuts. He's taken salary cuts to basically allow him stock options, which you don't really see that too often. And this company's been around for 20 years. It's not a brand new startup. But what they've done recently is they've transitioned their operations mainly from the US, because they're headquartered in Maryland, to China. And I think that's a very smart move. One, because of China's market size. And I'll get into their licensing deals in a second. One, China's market size, their population size. Two, their ability to get drugs through the pipeline quicker. They've got an orphan drug designation with their CNTC19 drug that I'll get into right now. Let's talk about it. So here's their pipeline. Again, you can go on their website and check this out. What I like about Casi, unlike a lot of other startup biotech companies, is that, and early stage clinical trial companies, is that they actually have a product on the market right now, right? That's actually generating revenue, and that's actually going to be picking up. Like the CEO is targeting over 50% revenue growth in Evomela this year. Now, Evomela, it's basically used for multiple myeloma surgeries as a recovery agent and transplants. I'm not a scientist, but anyway, so that drug is launched. They had a licensing deal with Spectrum Pharmaceuticals. Spectrum purchased 20% of Casi back in 2016, and they've actually been selling a ton of shares over the past few years because they're in desperate need of cash. So when we look at the 13F filings, you'll see that. But what I like about Casi, when I mention the business model, is that what they do is they develop licensing deals with these companies like Juventus, like BioInvent, where they'll purchase the drug. In some cases, they'll purchase the patent of the drug, and then these biotech companies will work on they'll do the clinical trials, the research and development, and if the drug passes, Casi has the right, exclusive right, to sell that drug in the China market. So I love that. So with Juventus right now, they're working on their T-cell therapy drug, which is, if you don't know T-cell therapy, you should definitely look into it. It's basically the next wave of cancer treatment, where it's using genetic coding, genetic sequencing, basically looking at the breakdown of these tumors in the body, because essentially when you have cancer, when a tumor develops, it starts that one mutation. I'm sorry, starts that one mutation, and if you kind of visualize it as a tree, that initial mutation then stems off into multiple mutations, and that tumor is basically comprised of several different types of cells, right? So with today's therapies, you're really only targeting and able to kill a few of those types of cells, but not the entire tumor. So T-cell therapy basically attacks that initial mutation and goes after every cell of that tumor. So there are several companies working on T-cell. It's huge in the scientific community, in the oncology space. T-cell is like the next big thing. So definitely look into it. But Casi, what I like, they're in phase 2. A lot of T-cell companies, they're not in phase 2. I think we have maybe one that's in phase 3 right now. But the majority, they're all earlier stage. So Juventus right now is working with this. Casi, through the CEO, through his fund, Emerging Tech Partners, that he founded in 2002, they acquired a large stake in Juventus. That is a private, research company that is developing and working on this T-cell therapy drug. So he said we should be hearing from them hopefully sometime later this summer in some of their, clinical trial updates. So that's the drug that I'm by far the most excited about. And I'm also going to get into reasons why it's going to do so well in China once it's launched, if it's launched. In 2020, they purchased the BI-1206 drug for the exclusive rights in China. This is BioInvents, which is a large public company. This is their lead drug candidate. So, BioInvents are working on this. Again, we just need news. Casi is the type of company right now where volume's extremely low, and we need some news. They also have several other things in the pipeline as well. Now, overall, this is just the 13F, 13D, 13G filings. We've got more coming out in August, on August 16th. But as it stands right now, we've seen, this is sorted by percent ownership in Casi. We see pretty much everybody adding. The exception is Spectrum, which again, I said, they are in desperate need of cash. So a theory is that they're selling Casi, selling stock, because they need to free up some cash. They need some capital, and they don't want to dilute their stock anymore. But I'm not here to talk about Spectrum. So anyway, you see a lot of purchasing from insiders. You've got Li Daiping, who I don't believe he works at Casi. I just think he's a big investor, and I think he may be a scientist, actually. But anyway, we've seen a lot of, purchasing of shares, which is always great to see. Now here, you guys can kind of pause this and read through everything. I'm not even going to touch really on the first part, because I kind of went into, all that in terms of the ownership of the company, who's been adding. But I do want to read this because, again, I've touched on these points, but I just wanted to read this. So the CEO's fund, Emerging Tech Partners, they invest in Juventus. They're the private company that's working on the non-Hodgkins lymphoma and b-nhl trials, which is crucial for that launch of their second drug. So this is the next thing that they want to launch. And this is the thing that if you listen to the earnings transcripts, you hear the CEO talk about it, this is what they're most excited for. Evomela is just a product on the market. It's just bringing in some capital. But this CAR-19 drug, that's really the next big thing. Because what they're doing with it is they're actually going to be manufacturing in China. It's going to be the first and only CAR-19 therapy drug manufactured in China, which is going to greatly reduce its cost to patients, because there's no shipping and all this stuff that other companies have to go through. So it's going to be made in China, which is fantastic. And they've got that large market. They're leveraging China's population to speed growth. So they are focused on growth. I mean, they really are. Then you got the BI-1206 again, 2020. They purchased it, BioInvent, lead drug candidate. Got the rights in China, and they've got the patent on Evomela from Spectrum till 2030, and they're targeting over 50% growth this year alone, over 50% growth. And they did see a decline in sales earlier this year, but the CEO said that was because of Chinese New Year. A lot of patients, kind of push off surgeries till after the New Year. I mean, I do business in China. You can't get a hold of anybody in January. I mean, everybody takes off basically the whole month. It's like August in Italy. Everybody kind of takes off. All right. And the other thing with Evomela too is that the doctors haven't really been educated on its effectiveness against chemotherapy alone. And so they've deployed a whole team strictly dedicated to just educating people, educating doctors on its effectiveness. So that's great to see as well. Now I was pulling up the chart here. I just pulled up the 3-year 1-week chart and the 1-year 1-day chart. I was going to go into smaller time frames, but I can kind of capture what I need to talk about with these. So on the 3-year, I mean, we see a big decline. There's several reasons to this. Dilution of shares. They just did a big offering earlier this year. 15 million share offering. So, I don't really say, oh, it used to be $9, now it's $1. It doesn't work like that, right? So there are more shares now available. It's different. But what I like to see though, over everything, on the 1 year, then making lower lows. But I hope we start to kind of form this bottom here in the 130s, 120 range. I've been adding heavily. I added heavily today. I initially got in at 1.8, added at like 1.6. I've been kind of adding down. My average right now is about 1.4 or 1.46. I think 1.46 my average. And I'm in with 5,000 shares now, so not a huge position, but I really would like it to go down to the 120s for a brief amount of time. Ideally this month, so that I can get into my 10,000 share size, which I'd be comfortable with a 10,000 share position, because I think a $2 price level is like a base, right? Because the last offering they did, the shares were priced at $2.05. So I would like to see at least 2. I think the stock's at least worth $2 on no news, and with that news coming out, I'm hoping to see 4 or 5. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? But there's definitely a long-term play here. By far, I think that Casi has what it takes to be an actual pharmaceutical company. They've talked about they want to become one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in China. I'd recommend you guys listen to the May transcript. But anyway, what I like about this chart, if you guys are still with me, is that looking at the 3-year chart, right? Look at the volume that came in around, not on TOS, but the volume that came in earlier this year in March. Now I'm sure that may have been when the CEO purchased. But what I like is that this spike, this uptick in volume, over the past, and we look at the year chart, we're seeing a good, or the 3-year, a lot more volume than it was when it was even, running from $1.50 to $4. So I like to see that. All right. Overall, you guys can, I'm not a huge fundamental, I don't really look at the numbers a ton. I need to kind of become more educated on that. But you can go look at the 10K filings on BAM SEC. But what I like here is that, I feel like we're kind of past the offerings. No, I'm sorry, that offering was actually for $32 million. Yeah, 15 million shares. So it's almost 16. But what I like about that is that the kind of the offering is done. They've done several offerings, and they have the cash that they need for at least a year, at least 1 to 2 years, based on what they said here. So they were really increasing R&D costs, right? They purchased BI-1206 for who knows how much. So they had a lot of outflow, a lot of capital being, spent to purchase patents and to, fund their research and development. So, which is great, but they were burning cash. They were burning cash, and it was increasing a lot. So they raised some money. I think it's going to be what they need for a while. I'm not worried about an offering right now, not at all. And anyway, so there's that. Again, this is just from the transcript talking. The CEO mentioned how he's expecting more than 50% revenue growth in Evomela this year. This is in May, and how they basically need to educate doctors that just they don't know yet. They don't know its effectiveness against chemo alone. All right, so that's enough of the slideshow. But yeah, guys. So overall, I love this company. I love the team. I love the pipeline. I love their next big drug launch. I would love to see that go through, and I'm pretty confident they can pull it off. Yeah, guys. If you have any questions, I hope this helped. I'm in it somewhat deep, but not deep enough. I'm going to be adding shares. Added 1,000 today. Added 1,000 yesterday, and so as we're below this like 1.4 level, I'm just going to be acquiring shares and waiting for news. I think we'll get news hopefully late July, August from Juventus, and just gotta wait it out. But I love the company, trust the CEO, and hope you guys make a decision, do your research, and check it out. All right, guys, have a good one. Peace.